Okay, first we will see what are the concepts we have learned yesterday. Then we will go to today's session. Today I'll be demonstrating one regex example, how to use regex for parsing your device configuration. I'll be showing how to parse your show IP interface brief config, and from there you can create a dictionary. And even that dictionary data you can take it and maybe you can apply IP address logic and all. But we'll be just saying how to take the device IP address details, the interface IP address details, and create a dictionary. And then we'll have a look into RESTCONF, some basics about RESTCONF. So before that, we'll just run through what are the top concepts we learned yesterday. We have seen how to install PyCharm in Linux from scratch, and then we have seen how to install virtual environment, how to manually create a virtual environment in Linux, then how to install packages, uninstall packages, check the dependencies, all these we have seen. The pip list command, pip install and install, all these commands we have seen. Then we looked into netmiko. We have written a very basic script on netmiko to initiate SSH to Cisco device and execute a show run command. And we have seen how to take configuration backup using that. And we have seen send command method. There are multiple other methods like send command set. You can create list of commands and send it, and send commands from file. If you are putting the entire command in a text file, you can use send command from file method. We have seen all this, and there netmiko supports device type value, right? Based on this device type, it takes manually changes the backend logic to connect to the device and get the output. And then we have seen paramiko. In paramiko, we were handling all these SSH logics manually, like SSH host key policy we were setting manually. Then we were using invoke shell method. Then we were sending configuration in bytes, and while sending it as a byte, we need to even give the enter key manually, like /n. Then we want to decode the output, add the time delay in the script. Everything we need to handle manually. But if you write it in paramiko, you can really understand how SSH works. So I would suggest you to start from paramiko. And these were the scripts which we have written. This was for netmiko configuration backup and difference. We were just firing up a browser session and showing the difference in the HTML file. And same thing we did with paramiko. After that, we have seen how to schedule the script execution. We have scheduled it to run in every 15 seconds and take the backup. And in the backup, we were adding the timestamp and hostname as the file name. And file name was the time underscore the hostname .txt. And after that, we have seen how to do multi-threading in the paramiko SSH connection, and we were parallelly executing the configuration backup on all these three devices, which is in one. This is Cisco DevNet device. It is readily available in internet for anyone to access. You can use this, and these are my lab devices. And let's get started with our regex logic. I'll create a file here. I'll call that 05 underscore regex interface parser. And from this one, we'll completely copy the script. So we don't need the multi-threading part. We'll just write a function here, which is Cisco interface parser. So here now we need to start writing our regex logic, right? So before that, we'll have a look into one of our slide here. So you all might have seen, right, what is regex? Because most of the languages are having regex, and the pattern logic is going to be same in all the languages. Okay, this is primarily used for matching and parsing our text patterns. So we'll be writing regex pattern. I'll be showing some how to write it. You can follow the same method. And in Python, RE is the built-in library for regex. Okay, And we can create objects, the regex objects in Python using re.compile method. We'll be creating regex object, and on top of that, we'll be doing all these methods, right? So if you here in this particular session, we are going to do the multiple interface IP address from single script. We are going to pass multiple interface IP address and details. So we'll be using finditer method. In finditer, it just returns, if it finds the match, it just returns an iterable object. And to that object, you can iterate through. You can do a for loop and get the entire output. And if you do a match, this will match only at the beginning of any string. And search, it just does the search on the entire string what it is receiving. If it finds the first occurrence, it will stop it searching there. So it will always try to match only first occurrence. For example, you can use this logic when you want to identify a host name or maybe version details or CPU serial number, all these kind of things. That comes only once, right, in the device. So in show version, it comes only once. So in those cases, you can use search method because we are expecting the single output. And find all will create a list. If it finds multiple matches, it creates a list of those outputs. And finditer is a better way because finditer will give all the position groups, all the details, and then on top of that object we can iterate. So we will be looking into finditer method. And in the actual session, this regex is going to be a complete 3-hour session. Like we'll be learning from scratch how to write a basic regex and how to get a show version output. It will be really a value add for, it is worth learning regex actually. Many places you can apply. And this is their official documentation for regex operation. Here we can see multiple options like dot means any character, caret means it will start in the beginning. We don't, but at current stage we don't need to look into all that. So what I'll be doing, I'll be showing how to read the special characters. So here you can see /s. /s means it will be a white space character. /S means it will be a non-white space character. That's all. In the regex pattern, if you see the slashes, that means it is trying to identify some spaces in the string. And if it is /S, it is some non-white space. Non-white space means any other character. And then we will be doing a plus operation here. Yeah, this one. So this will wait for that any occurrences, any pattern to happen one or more time. Like in /s plus means the space, it can be even 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 4 spaces, it will automatically match that. Anyway, I'll show in the demonstration. So first we will try taking one configuration output. Like I have renamed this function to Cisco interface parser, and the variables are going to be same. And here we will change this to show IP interface brief. And here what we'll do, instead of time we will add IP int. There were some previous files, I'll delete that. And we'll try running this function on one of the lab device, Cisco interface parser, and it is same thing what we have seen yesterday. Like the lab CSR device, it is 63, it is my lab device. Okay, I have received the output. So this is the output from my device. And you should be able to see the text output here. Now we need to take this entire output and parse it. Even we can use text FSM and other there are built-in modules in 𝗏𝗏𝗀 and all for parsing it. But it is always better to understand the backend logic what they are using, so that if you want to customize it, you would be able to understand their logic and customize it based on your requirement. So I'll copy the entire output. And for writing the regex logic, you don't have to write within Python IDE, because that involves a lot of effort, right? Because you need to write a logic, then run the script, all this. But what you can do is you can use this regex 101 website. It is free. You can just select Python, put your entire data here, and we'll start writing a regex logic here. Okay, I think whoever has not used regex, it will be little top of head, but just try to understand this, at least the concept and logic. Later you can just explore more about this or reach out to me if you have any clarifications. So we'll start writing this. So what I'll do, we'll start from non-space characters. So it is trying to match all the non-space, but I'm just going to make it as more granular. By each character while adding, it will start filtering from there. So first I'm saying all the non-space character, just giving a plus, it will go till the end. You can see here, right? It is now taking all the non-space character till the end. Till it finds the space, it just takes the output. Now, see, so I'm just keeping only this word in my mind. Okay, I need to come to this one. I need to completely match with this one. So you need to keep only this in mind. The rest of the things you can just ignore whatever is coming. So now I know there are a lot of non-space characters, and after that I have multiple spaces. So what I do, I give a slash s, small s, and when I gave one slash s, you can see it matched one. And if I give one more slashes, it will match two spaces. Like I can do, based on that, I can just keep on giving the spaces. Instead of that, what I can do, I'm just telling script, go and search till the end of space. If I give plus, it will go and match till the end of this space. After that, here we can see we are getting some digits, right? Some digits and some the dots, and here we can see some unassigned is coming, but I'm just keeping only this in mind. So now next I need to match with some digit. So to match the digit, the regex pattern is here. You should be able to see slash d. Slash d will match with any digit. So we'll go to regex monopone and we will try giving slash d. See, now you can see this has taken the first character. If I give one more slash d, it will start taking. If I give one more d, you can see it is matching only here, because only this contains 3 digits. But instead of that, what I can do here, because I'm having multiple digits and dot. So what I can do, I can just create a group here like dot and digits, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to put it into single, the optional character, and that is going to have multiple occurrences. Got it? Now it matched this character. So here what it is doing, till the end it is going to check the first character. It will check, is this a digit? Yeah, then it matched. Second also it is a digit, matched. Third it is a digit, and here when it comes to fourth one, it will check whether it is a digit or dot. Yeah, it is a dot, so it will match. Till the end it will match. Is it clear? Now, but now it is taking only IP address. Now, but we need to take even, unassigned, or down, or any other conditions, right? Depends on the interface status. So what we can do is, we'll put this into another group. So still it is matching. here this means here what we'll do, we'll give unassigned. Now you can see it is matching even IP and unassigned. And here on the right side, you should be able to see the groups as well. But here, we have created only group for this now, because when you add certain pattern into parenthesis, that means it belongs to particular group. So what I'll do, I need this also, because this capital slashes plus means it is the interface name. Until it finds a space, it will just keep on searching. So what we can do, we can put this into another group. So you can see here now group 1 is 0. It is not matching anywhere. Like only we are getting group 2 with IP, right? Group 2 is this. So let me just add this. So now here group 1 contains our IP interface name, and group 2 contains IP address, right, for the first occurrence. And for the other things also it will match same way, but we need to keep writing to match till the end. So next, after this we have multiple spaces. So what I'll do, I'll give a /s /s plus, so it matched till the end. Then you can even write it in better way, like you can give it as a word or any other way, but yeah, you can just learn it using this logic. Now we have yes, we don't need to take yes character. So what we'll do, we're considering that as some non-space character. You can see even that came. Now then again, I'll give a /s plus and then /S plus. You can see it came to 𝗵𝗏. Now again one more /s plus. So it came till here. Now we will have a more specific conditions like up or administratively down. To catch that, what we can do is we'll create another group here, and I'll first write up. You can see now all the up interfaces are catching here. And here the group 1 contains now interface name, and group 4 contains up. But it is not able to catch administratively down. So here I'll write that as well. Now it is able to catch even that. Now we want, if you want, even you can take these status like up or down, but here I'm not taking it. So I'll give /s plus, and if you want to take it, what we can do is /non-space plus, and I'll put that also into another group. And now let us check our groups. Group 1 contains interface name. Group 2 and 3, because I'm adding it in both parentheses, 2 parentheses are there. That is why group 2 and 3 are coming with IP address. And group 4 is up, and group 5 also is up. And for the match 2, you can see it is up. And group 2, you can here for gigabit 3, group 2 is unassigned because its IP is unassigned. And group 4 and 5 is up. You can just see in this way. Now we just need to copy and paste this logic into our script. I'll show how to do that. Once you have this ready, just copy this. I'll close this backup file. We'll create a pattern here. So I have mentioned earlier that we need to create an object using re.compile. So int underscore pattern equal to re.compile, and then it is going to be a row string, and this is how we define regex pattern always, because if you give it as a row string, it can take any other special characters like /n/r, any value you can define inside your pattern. Otherwise, it will consider as a string. So let us just paste our regex logic, and we need to apply that to our this output. We can delete this storing output logic. Even time we can delete, and here then we will do an interface iteration. So before that, what we'll do, we'll do a print statement here. Parsing the output, and after that I'm going to create another object here, interface iter, and then the pattern, the earlier pattern whatever we have created, that is an object now, and on top of that we can apply all the logic. So we will do a find iter on that, and what will be passing this pattern. So what we are doing, this particular pattern we are going to apply on the output what we are going to receive. So find iter method, we are going to apply it on output, and value will get stored into this one, interface iter. Now if we try printing interface iter, let us try running this. So it is an iterator, callable iterator object. So what we can do is, in an iterator we can do a for loop. So for so this is going to be a list of it is an iterator, so intf another variable for intf in intf iter. Now we will do print intf. Did you see that? Now it says it is matching and it is getting all these outputs in different groups. So what we can do is, we will try printing individual groups of that. Instead of printing this directly, what we'll do, we will just add some formatting here so that it will come properly. So 1/n, then this is just for readability. I'm just adding this the star symbol some 30 times. I'll print in a new line, and after that I will do a print formatted string. Interface name is, which was our interface names group. It was intf dot group 1 is our interface name. So we can verify that here. Group 1 contains the interface name. So we'll try running this. See, now we are getting all the interface names in the parsed format, right? Now same way what we can do is, okay, I'll copy and paste it. can say click on that and press Control D. So it will automatically copy and paste that line. And IP addresses in group 2. Press Control D and interface status is coming in group 4. We'll try running now. See, we are getting the output here. Now we can put this into a dictionary, and there are some libraries called IP address. Using that, even you can validate whether this belongs to any specific subnet. All these logics you can apply on this. And in the previous training, we have done some logic. Even people have done some homework also, some tasks also on this. Like once you get this output, interface IP details, what we'll do, we'll give one subnet. User will give one subnet IP, and script will automatically go and scan all these IPs and identify any interface belongs to that subnet is there in the list. And it prints that. I hope this logic is clear. Oh, sorry, wait, here we need to give group 4. So we can see here, right, the status, administratively up or down. Now, if you want to put all this into, rather than printing it, if you want to create a separate dictionary for this one, we'll see that logic. So this one I'll put a comment. And if I want to comment multiple lines, I can select all these lines, Control/, and here then we'll start writing a new logic. So this one I'll type. Okay, now so we will, for each interface we'll create a dictionary, and in the end we'll create a list of all these interfaces. So first we will initialize a final list, int list, and this is going to be an empty list. And then the same iteration we are going to do here. So for int intf in interface iter, and here we will initialize an empty dictionary first, and we'll initialize and we'll start adding values to that for each interface iteration. Int dictionary equal to an empty dictionary, and then we need to start adding our key value pairs there. Either we can write it in multiple lines or we can make it as a single line. For example, here, so this is our dictionary name, right? Interface dictionary. So interface dictionaries key, I'm going to say, is going to be intf, and I can put the value here. So the interface name I'll add here. intf dot, which group it is? Group 1. Now we will append this to interface list dot append the each dictionary. Each interface dictionary will append to the final list. So now I'm adding only one value. We'll try adding all the values, but before that I thought, okay, I'll just show how this will look. So we'll do a print of interface list So here now you can see this is having one key and it is INTF and it is adding the interface name there in the dictionary. So all these interface names are coming. Now similar way, if you want to add other values, interface dictionaries IP equal to which group it is, INTF dot group 2. I'll give next one status, it is group 4. And here I'll import pprint also. Pprint means it will print the dictionaries or list in a little more structured format. So from pprint import pprint, and here I'll do pprint of interface list. We'll try running it. You're able to see, right? Now I got a list of dictionaries with all the interface IP and interface name, IP and status. This is how we can parse the interface configuration. And you can even write additional conditions here. For example, if you need only interfaces with IP, what we can do is if interfaces dot group 2 if the group 2 is IP address, right? So that is unassigned, then we need to give, we'll just say okay, just continue. I'll give a column here. See, now we are getting only interfaces with IP address here.
Hi Dev, sorry to interrupt. We have a question from Rualio.
Okay.
The question is, can we save the results of the regex parse into a file so that later we can run a project using that result? Something like use the output of search and for all those interfaces add X command.
Yeah, definitely you can do that. You can just you need to write logic for that. For example, so you are asking like the matched output, you need to store it into a text file, then you need to make some changes to that, right? That is possible. In one example, what I have done is recently, like I was getting some additional outputs from the device. So what I did is I wanted to replace certain things. So also there is a method in regex which is called replace. See, you can give this one, right? Sub, if you use sub, and on top of that, if you give replace and the replace string, it will try to replace that. All these are documented here. You can just try it out. Any issues, you can let us know. No problem. We'll help you out. Is it clear? So we Okay, yeah, let's continue with for another topic. It is RESTCONF. Anyone used RESTCONF before? Anyone knows what is RESTCONF? You can unmute and talk about that. What are the advantages of using RESTCONF? What is REST? Okay, let me just open one. Actually, the future, right? Future data and programmability, everything will be around this one. These kind of concepts. So let me just put one Cisco link here. See, standard model driven programmability. So here, if you see, they have primarily mentioning two protocols. One is netconf and another is RESTCONF. RESTCONF means RESTCONF is using REST API in the backend. So I think all are aware that APIs actually uses HTTP or HTTPS, right? For all these network devices, when we call it as REST API, it uses HTTP or HTTPS method in the backend. So netconf actually works on over SSH. If you go through RFC of netconf, you should be able to see it works on SSH, but RESTCONF is not under the scope of this session now. I'll be focusing on netconf is not under the scope. I'll be focusing on RESTCONF because in netconf you can see it passes XML data. XML is always a little confusing for network engineers because we cannot always go and edit or write a new XML file. But in netconf it is over SSH and it uses XML data. But if you see the data model of any of these approaches, they all use YANG data model. Here, if you search for, see, you can see here, they use YANG data model. And what is YANG? Anyone heard about that? You can go to this site. Here you will be able to see a lot of YANG data models. This, like some standard bodies, they define the data structure, how this has to be. So in that way they will design. You can see here, so organizations such as IETF, IEEE, and MEF, all these folks, they just open daylight, all these vendors, right? They all define some data structures. They all come to an agreement and design based on the based on the object what they are going to design. For example, if you are designing an L2 interface, L2 interface will have a name, then maybe interface name, then description, VLAN ID, maybe spanning tree mode or any other thing, right? A lot more things. So based on that, they will design a data structure and all the other vendors should follow that standard. So here you can see multiple YANG data models. One is standard data model, and under standard, you can go to IETF defined RFC standards. And if you open all this, these are some data model files. I'll open one actual file. Yeah. See, this is like a tree structured data. Like they will define, okay, how an interface looks like. Interface should have what are the parameters, and everything will be defined here. But we don't have to go into all these details and learn because these are designed by IETF itself or other standard bodies. Even individual vendors will have their own models. For example, if you come to YANG and vendors, Cisco, we'll go to XR, RegEx, and 17.3.1 I'm using. Inside that, they are also defining their own data models. So what this says is, if you want to configure an ACL, what are the parameters we need to pass to an ACL? We can just take all these data and frame a RESTCONF or NetConf data and send to the device. That's all. And if you follow IETF defined data model, the advantages, this is going to work in same way on Cisco, Juniper, or Arista, any device which supports these YANG data models. Okay, that is data model. So initially they started with NetConf, but it uses XML in the backend. But if you see RESTConf RFC is 8040. This is having a lot of similarity with NetConf. And it says it is a HTTP based protocol that provides a programmatic interface for accessing data defined in YANG. So this also consumes the YANG data model. No, so the same data model what we have seen here. And if you come down to everywhere, they'll compare this with NetConf. But here it is going to be an HTTP request. I don't want to bore you with this RFCs. So let us go to some of the other details about REST. Anyone knows what is REST API? REST API and normal API, the difference between those. Okay, I'll put one more link here. Even Cisco is having some documentation around REST. REST stands for representational state transfer. So they define certain standards for how the server to client communication has to be. Like maybe if you're writing in normal our own API, that time even we can delete all the data using get method itself. But if you're following REST standard, you need to follow their specifications. So they have certain rules set there. So for example, if you want to get some data, right, you need to use get method. To create or replace something, you need to use put method. Then for replacing primarily we use put method, and for creating it we use a post method, and for merging we use patch, all these things, right? They have defined all these standards here. That is why, because most of these networking devices interfaces, everything is going to be a REST API. And they talk about all these resources and other methods under time, but we don't have to go through all this. Then let me just put Cisco's documentation. This will be much more easier. So here you can see, right, representation is state transfer is called REST, and see the client to server client request for object state, and then the REST defines how the server and clients are going to talk, and what are the structure and method, and everything this they will just mention here. And everything is going to be a URL or URI in case of REST API. And on top of that, you can do multiple methods that also they will be giving. These are some of the URL structures and all. You can read through all this. And let us go to our PPT. Okay, yeah, this is one high-level comparison of RESTCONF and NetConf. Let me just increase I'll make this as full screen. You can see here, right, in the left side, whether it is a NetConf or RESTCONF client, both uses the transport YANG-based data model, right? Both are YANG-based data model. Only difference is NetConf supports only XML data, and you can see the medium, right? It is going to be an SSH TLS. But in case of RESTCONF, it is HTTPS. and it is YANG based XML or JSON data which we are going to pass to the device. And both services we can run it separately, like netconf and resconf. Netconf actually works on port 830 and resconf is on port 443. And both device will be opening two individual ports for all this, and both will accept the YANG based data model configuration, and this configures the device accordingly. And these are some of the supported methods in RESTCONF. I'll show some simple examples for you to understand this RESTCONF API. So let me go to, so you can, for exploring APIs, you can use a tool called Postman. You can directly install this in Ubuntu from our software. You can click on Ubuntu software and there you can search for Postman and install it. And once you install it, you can just create one collection here. And under that, you can just go and create the request. You can just create a request, add request, and put the URL. Like I have put the URL here. This is, I'll show this as well. Like what does this means in case of RESTCONF. And you need to put this and authorization, username and password of the device. I have added my device credentials, admin. And then you can just send a request to the device. And when I'm sending this request, you can see I'm receiving some data here. For example, same thing, if we copy and put it into our browser, need to log in, it is not prompting for login. In some browser, right, like Chrome, until it will prompt for the credential, and you will be getting an empty text file with this content. And you can see here the status, what I have received. So we'll see what is this host meta in RESTCONF. We'll go to RFC. So you can see here, like to get the API details, right? The client always initiates a host meta to the RESTCONF server, and server should give its URL details. That is what RFC says. Okay, once you do that, we don't have to manually do from Postman. I just added it. But to get the configuration or edit the configuration, we don't have to do all that. But for our understanding, I have just added. If you're interested, you can search more about all these host meta. What is that? And this is our RESTCONF URL. And if you send there, it will say which model it is using. You can see here, right? YANG library version 2016, 6021, and some namespace, all these details this will give. And then if you get the module information, this will say what are the type of data models it supports. See these, if you compare this with our YANG data model in the GitHub, it will be same. It will be available in YANG data model as well. So it is saying what are its capabilities and what are the type of data models it supports. Should be able to see a whole lot of support in this. So 𝗪𝗂𝗃𝗃 standard, 𝗪𝗂𝗃𝗃 interface details, a lot of things you can see here. But while testing RESPONSE, we don't have to do all this. Just for understanding, I just added. And now to get the interface details, what we can do is we can go to this URL. So this you need to go through their RESCONF, Cisco's, maybe you need to search and find out their RESCONF documentation and get the individual URL for each configuration. And maybe for devices, for Nexus, it might be a little different. And for if they're using this will be same because it is IETF standard. So this part should be same. But sometime it will be Cisco RESTCONF, XR and all. So you need to just go through the documentation and identify it. And if I send this data. See, I'm getting all the interface information here. And I don't have to do any kind of parsing. It is a structured format, right? And I can get it in. I can just give the type of data I need, but JSON is a more readable format, so it is going to respond it in. And here, one more thing, what you can do is, see here, accept data I have given yang data JSON. If I give here, we'll try giving XML. This will start giving data in XML format. Okay, that is what here they are saying. The data models inside RFC you should be able to see. See, if you give it as JSON, it will give JSON data. If you give it as XML, this will give the XML data. And the methods you can see here, put, patch, delete, and other methods, right? Get, post, put, patch, and delete. Let me just change this back to JSON. So creating request is simple. You just need to right click, create a request, put your URL, add the authorization, then add the accept data in this format, and you will get the output. And now if you want to get the equivalent Python script, here in Postman, we are having one option. We can just click on this code, and here, if you want to get the curl command, you will get curl here. And this curl command, curl is not installed. This is a new Ubuntu machine which I'm using for this demo. Okay, because it is not validating the SSL certificate, so I have given -k. I just said, okay, just trust all this. In the curl also, I'm getting the response. The interface configuration details. See, I don't have to do any kind of parsing or any regex, I don't have to write any complex regex logic. I'm getting data in a structured format here. And if you want to write a Python, if you want to get a Python script of it, go to curl and yeah, Python request. And if you go through this script, you'll be able to see authorization as this, right? But we have given admin. There are some online tools which can decode this. It is actually the base 64 encoded username and password, this one. So this Postman is converting that into this format and sending it. If you copy and paste this into PyCharm, it will work. But we'll do that in the end. So before that, I'll show some of these from Postman. Yes, like Nitin mentioned, so the lab what we are going to provide is going to have all the packages installed, or you can play around with it. This will have, so this is the same lab which we are going to give for all the people who are interested to get the lab. So you will be able to do all these operations yourself. You will have the same method of connecting to the devices. Okay, now here, if you want to get the single interface detail, see this is how we are applying the filter. So we are saying IETF interfaces standard YANG model, and from there interfaces and the interface name. If I send that, I'll be getting that specific interface configuration details. Since it is HTTPS, by default, you might be getting SSL validation error because I don't have valid SSL certificate in my router. Since it is a test, I'm not using any valid certificate. So you need to disable this while you are testing it. And here also authorization, everything will be same, username and password. And if you want to see the equivalent Python code, click on this, you will get the Python code. And all these operations are get operations. So to get the configurations, we need to use get operation. So next is this one. We'll try getting the complete config. It will take time to process that data, but we have received entire configuration in a JSON format. Right? We don't have to do any parsing here. So we're getting it in. Now I'll show one small example of how to parse the output. Before that, I thought I'll run through this Postman. Now earlier we have seen IETF defined Yang model, right? So this is going to be same on all the other vendors who follow same standard. Now we will see one example with Cisco specific. This is Cisco's proprietary data model. So Cisco iOS XE native. Even using that, you can get the interface details. So there also will be getting, but this will be Cisco design structure. So even they will include maybe their proprietary protocol or proprietary configurations or not. But while using their device, it is better to use their proprietary method. If you want to use some of the advanced features, like while configuring BGP and all, maybe if they are adding some additional functionalities, you might not get that in our open source data model. Then you need to use their proprietary thing. And here I have one more example to get the host name. If I hit that, it will print the host name. Now we'll see one put example. Let me just SSH to the device. I'll do a put now with, so this is the data which I'm going to pass to the device. You can see here inside body raw data I'm passing. I'm just passing a JSON data. And here you can see the header and other data details, header and authorization I'm passing, and equivalent Python script I can see here. And you should be able to see this. This is the payload, the JSON data. It is using JSON.dumps. It is trying to convert this into a string. And if I'll go to the body and so we are getting a 200 message. You can see here, right? IP got, the name got changed. So now I'm doing it through Resconf API of the device. And I'm using the data model, Cisco iOS XE native data model, their own proprietary data model. And similar way, we can even do the domain name. Like we can get the domain name and we'll try doing we'll try giving test11.com. And now we'll try getting again the domain name. I'll do the get operation again. See, now it is text11. But if you do the post method here, this will fail because object already exists. We can just do only put to that object. Now we will try doing a very small Python script. Let me just see how to get the interface config. Get all interfaces will try it. I'll copy this, create a new Python file. 06 underscore get and here by default this won't be available in your PyCharm, so you need to go to the IDE environment interpreter and install it. So today morning I have installed it, but this is the same environment which we have used yesterday. So I just installed request. Now we will try running as it is. We'll get SSL error because this host is not trusting by Python by default or request module by default because it doesn't have a valid SSL certificate. In production, you can add a valid SSL certificate and then try to connect, and you can add the C as trusted in your Ubuntu machine and use it. Or what we can do is we can add some exceptions here. I'll copy paste that logic here. This you can ignore. PyCharm is showing in this way, but yeah, this is okay. This error. And inside response, we can do verify equal to false. Now we will try running this. Now we are getting the parse, the JSON output in our Python terminal. We are just printing it as a text file. Is it clear till now? And you can see the structure of this data, right? It is like IETF interfaces, column interfaces, and inside that interface. And inside that we have a dictionary, and there it is adding all the interface IPs. Now we will see how to parse this data. This is in a text format now. Even what we can do, we can do a print in a JSON format. We will try running this. It is a proper JSON format now. And from here, if you want to do some filter, now so it is, you can see there is a key called IETF-interfaces, and inside that we have another interface. So okay, let me just run it. We'll copy this. And this data, and we will try to filter that. We'll try to what we'll do. We'll create a copy of this. Control D, and here IETF interfaces, and we'll try running now. See, now IETF interface is gone from here, right? Because we are going inside and reading it. Now same way we'll try reading interface. See, now we are getting a proper list of dictionaries with all the interface details. So this is how you can just filter the output, and we'll try creating an object with this output. Interfaces equal to this one, the filtered output. And if you want to see the total number of interfaces, even we can do the length of interfaces. This gives 7. So total 7 interfaces are there in this database. Now if you want to iterate through this, because this is having list of dictionaries, right? So for the same way what we have done in regex. Yeah, thanks, Nitin. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. For interface in interfaces, and we'll try printing interface. Okay, we'll call this as INTF. So now we can see individual interface details here. And status enabled is true. Then inside that they have some structure for IP address. Inside address they are giving IP because we can assign even multiple IPs to one interface. Because of that we have designed in this way. Now to get the interface details, what we can do is from here to get the interface name, INTFs or wait time INT name equal to INTFs name. We'll try printing it. Printing a formatted string with interface name. We'll do some left justification for the text, like some 18 spaces we'll add. Then we will give, these are different ways of printing. We can give it in this way, so they'll just reformat it. That's it. So it is just started printing all the interface names here, all the available interface names. Now if you want to get the interface IP, so we need to do some filtering in our output, right? So let me just do some filtering here. I'll delete this print. Okay, yeah, from here we need to take the interface IP. So to get the interface IP, we need to go to address, and inside that there is an IP, right? So actually you need to just navigate through these files, trial and error, we can figure out that. It is not that I'm writing straight away, even I did multiple iteration, multiple tries, and I found this how to do that. So you can also try it in same way. And interface IP equal to the interfaces. Inside that we have one key called IETF IPv4, right? We need to put that. We'll put that, and then inside that we have one key called address. And then inside address again they have one more list, right? In that list 0th element is the first IP, so I'll give 0. And then inside that 0th element there is another key called IP. Okay, this is how we need to filter the output. And if you want to, okay, let us just try printing this. Now we'll start getting error also, because some of these interfaces doesn't have IP, right? So it will say, okay, object, the address object not found. So what we can do, Here we need to introduce a try and except method. So we'll do a try, and if we have any exception, and exception what we were getting key error, and under that we'll give, if you have any key error, just continue. Let's try running this. See, now we are getting whichever interfaces are having IP, it is printing that and name. But here we are just printing on top, but we don't need it in that way. What we'll do, we'll remove that, and here we'll do one more print, Control D, interface IP, and we'll try giving this here and see whether we are getting any errors. So you're able to see it, right? If you're getting some type error, what you need to do is you need to just convert this into a string, that's all. But here it is okay. Yeah, we are not getting it. So this is how you can navigate through the JSON output of the device using RESTCONF and print the output. See, now we are getting only the IP, the interfaces with IP address configured. We have seen how to handle error. So what are the things we have seen? Seen how to connect to the device using RESTCONF, how to add the authentication and add the header and payload, how to handle our SSL warning. Then we have added verify false here. Then how to convert this into JSON, filter the output, then do some iteration over the data, get the data accordingly and print it. You can even reuse it in other components, or you can put it into a CSV file or Excel file or YAML file, anywhere you can use it. I think that's all for today's session. Any questions, you can unmute and talk. Okay, I'll run through our actual Python courses content now. I think now you will have a little more understanding on what are the topics we are going to cover in our actual 5 weekends workshop, right, which is starting on July 16th. So I'll just run through the topic again. Like on day 1, we will be getting little more deep into Paramiko. Now we have seen only some basic functionalities in Paramiko, right? We'll be looking into invoke shell, how to handle SSH based authentication. Then what are the difference between bytes and Unicode, how to convert it, some more real-time use cases of bytes and Unicode. Then the get pass is simple. Then exit command method, how to use that with Cisco device. Then how to use that in a Linux host, how to use exit command method and execute command in Linux machine. Then how to do the exception, because none of these scripts are having exception handling, right? So here I just demonstrated only positive scenario, because we are not handling any errors like authentication field, device not reachable or anything, right? So we will see how to handle it properly, how to print if you have any exceptions in your script. We learned that in day 2. Then the file operations, then the compare, we will see some text comparison and other logic on day 2. And day 3 is completely going to be for regex. Day 3, the week 2, Saturday is going to be completely on regex. We'll be doing a lot of works, and I'll give multiple tasks for each attendees to do. And we'll work on that. You have to do independently and get back to me. I'll connect one-to-one and validate each task and give suggestion. I won't be directly giving the solution. You have to work and give me the solution. And on day 4, it is mainly for Python topics, like we'll be learning for loop, while loop, if else conditions, and many other logics. Then we'll see how to write functions. Here I was just showing one simple function for parsing the config or doing multi-threading and all, right? And then scheduling. Then for taking configuration back, I was using same function. I was just renaming, but there we'll see how to use it properly, how to use proper functions and modules, how to write your own function, how to import it from another file. What is that if name equal to main, right? What is the use of that? All these things we'll learn there. Then how to write some script into init.py file and how to reuse it. And all these logics we'll see there. And then we'll see some class, how to use classes in our use case, right? What we'll do, we'll create a mini app using classes which can initiate connection, and everything will happen outside like you are doing in Paramego, right? Same way, if you just click device call and connect, it will automatically initiate SSH connection to the device. Then device dot parse show run. If you run that function or that method, this will go and parse the output. So we will do that logic using classes. We'll see that. That way we can understand, we'll get more understanding. Classes are actually simple. It is not too complex. So we will be learning, because whoever has attended last session, right? They are now very comfortable with classes, how to use it. Then multi-threading. So here we have seen one small example, but we'll be handling multiple use cases. It is going to be, I think, around 30 minutes only for multi-threading. There even I'll be showing concurrent futures option. It will be much simpler than even our threading, the concurrent feature. That is some new method. Then day 5 again we'll start with Python fundamentals like list, dictionaries, and how to, because here we were just writing some list and we were not doing much operations on the list and all, right? Like we were just creating list of dictionaries of the parse interface, but there we'll see how to filter it, how to append values, how to do many more operations around that. Then dictionaries, we should be very thorough with dictionaries, because any file you read, right? If you read CSV file or YAML file, JSON file, XML, everything we need to convert into dictionaries or list. Reading list is simple, but writing or reading content to dictionaries, then updating the data, everything is, you should be very thorough with dictionaries, I would say. Then sets and tuples, use of that. Then PyCharm debugging, like we will see some examples of mutable and immutable, and then we will try to troubleshoot that using Python debugging. Like in PyCharm, just give me a moment, I'll connect my charger. Sorry about that. Yeah, we'll see how to write a code and how to do the debug in PyCharm. Here we can see one debug option, right? Using that, we'll see how to print and how to do all these options like step over, step into, step out of my code, run to cursor, all these options. We'll see how to do all that in your code. Then we'll see IP address model, which will be very useful for network engineers, where you can use that for validating all this here, because we were just blindly writing one very simple logic while parsing our IP interfaces, right? I was just writing a very simple logic, like I'm saying this is going to be my IP, right? If this contains some digit and dots, it is going to be an IP. I'm assuming in that way. But in real time, using IP address module, that can identify your subnet, or your IP address belong to a particular subnet or subnet mask, or it can do all the validation. You don't have to write any logic. If you just write minimal lines of code, you should be able to figure out which subnet it is, what is the network address, broadcast address, all this. Number of hosts, you can iterate through the host, everything you can do it. Then on day 6, we will be focusing on CSV file. How to read a CSV file using reader and dict reader, how to create some dictionaries from CSV and use it in your script. Like multiple different, you will have device IPs and its configuration in a CSV file. How to read those configuration, the CSV file, and frame your dictionary and use that dictionary to configure the devices. Then daytime module, how to do the schedule, So we have seen some basics about schedule, right? And then how to execute Python script in the backend using NoHop and how to run it if you want to keep it running, right, without opening your console and all. How to run it in the backend, because you will have some dedicated machines for running your script, right? You can just keep running there without even terminal open. And how to log all these execution details into a text file using Python logging. So that is going to be day 7 task. You will each day you will be getting minimum 4 to 5 tasks to complete before the next week. You need to complete and get back to me with the solution, or while trying it, if you're having any issues, you can reach out to me directly. I'll have some 5 to 10 minutes one-to-one with each attendees. That is why I'm accommodate very minimum attendees in each session. I want to make it more effective, and you have to learn it thoroughly. That is why I'm just including very few attendees. Then we'll be on day 7, we'll be learning enumerate, tabulate, item getters method in Python. That is also again Python fundamentals. Then list comprehension to make your code simpler. Like with single line of code, you can write the for loop and other logics. That is kind of intermediate topic, list comprehension. Then copy, deep copy, some process for executing command. Then day 8, we'll be learning more about JSON file, because if you see our previous script, we were getting data into JSON format, right? But we haven't seen how to read a JSON file, put that data into our configuration, right? We haven't seen how to put it. Even if you see here, they are using certain methods. If you see here, put, and if I go to the script, they are using JSON.dumps. What is dump? There are two methods, dump and dumps. And for YAML file, there is load and loads, safe load and all, right? We will be learning all these in detail on day 8. Then even we'll see how to handle XML files, because 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗃, as I mentioned earlier, right? In 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, we'll be primarily using XML files. So you should be at least little more comfortable in using XML file when if you are using 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃. Sorry, netconf. And then we will have some fundamentals about 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, then how to use TextFSM for parsing the output. You can even see in TextFSM some similar regex logics what we have learned today in TextFSM. Now if you go and read their logic, you will be able to relate better. And how to write a Jinja2 template. Jinja2 we primarily use for templating, right? It is a templating language. So if you have for example, if you have multi-line configuration, like if you have bigger BGP config, or maybe some 15-20 lines of single interface config, that you cannot accommodate in your Python script and write logic for changing each line's parameter, right? That time what we'll do, we will take this iteration logic, the text formation, right? That logic out of our Python script. We'll have a template outside of the script. That template will just give, it is like a black box. You just give the variable there, you will get the text output. It is, that is how Jinja2, how to use Jinja2 for formatting your configuration, right? Or creating your big configuration templates. Then on day 9, we'll be learning napalm, some fundamentals. Then Nornir, how to use Nornir, how to frame the Nornir inventory, then how to filter the inventory, how to filter based on device type, groups and all, how to execute parallelly the task. Everything happens parallelly in Nornir. Then we'll see how to do multiple tasks from single run. All these options we'll see in Nornir. Then on day 9, we'll see even some FortiGate script execution example, how to do FortiGate API automation. Then on day 10, we will be looking into RESTCONF. So here I have showed only single script, right? We'll be looking into more than 8 to 9 scripts like this for multiple logics. Then netconf, how to initiate netconf from Python. Like we'll be using 𝗪𝗁𝗃 client. There is a Python library called 𝗪𝗁𝗃 client for initiating netconf connection. We'll learn that. Then nmap for port scanning. If you want to discover some host and if you want to do some scanning in your network, We can use nmap. Then PyCharm for packet capture. Python can even capture the packet and print the output. We can apply even filter to the packet and identify the structure, everything you can do using even Python. So yeah, these are the topics I'm planning to cover the next batch, which is starting on July 16th. Last week I have completed one batch. So this is actually a kind of free demo for whoever is interested for them to enroll. So I have received multiple registrations yesterday. So I'll be connecting with individual one-to-one this week. I'll send an email and then we can have a talk. Then yeah, according to your requirement, I'll put it into a one batch, like based on your level. Any questions, anyone?